Welcome back to the Fostering Financial Victories podcast. Thanks for joining us. I am joined today by Barb and Carley Riggs. So we're going to talk through some real estate stuff. Pretty hot topic. Everybody seems to be wanting to sell a house right now. So thank you guys for joining. First off, give me a little bit of background on how long you've been in the business, how you got in the business, and kind of what your day-to-day looks like.
Okay, I guess I'll get started. Okay. I've been in the business almost 25 years. We moved to the Greenville area, and it's something I always had passion for and thought, well, this is the time to do it. And through meeting people during the time I was getting my license, I was guided to the Merchant Company. And it's been a great small company to work for that has grown over the years. When it was small, doing on-site sales, and basically transformed into traditional. And now we have a much larger team. Very family-oriented company, and we just have a really great group.
Cool. So 25 years into the business, you've seen a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Carley, you are not quite as seasoned.
No.
Right?
So I have had my license for a couple of years. Started in the role of marketing director with Merchant Company for about a year before I got my license. So just fell in love with the company, learned a lot about the real estate market and things in that role. And of course, was seeing the day-to-day with Barb and what she was doing, and it was interesting to me. So decided to take the leap, and it's been a couple of years now, but it's going great.
Cool. So interesting dynamic. You guys kind of work as a little bit of a team sometimes?
Yes.
Right? So what's it like working with your mother-in-law?
It's great. No, everybody asks that, and it's wonderful. I mean, we've really connected and had a great relationship from, the beginning of meeting each other. And so, it's fun. We work with each other. We kind of have different skills that balance each other out. So it's been great.
All right. That was not a weighted question or anything. Okay. So, Barb, you said when you moved to Greenville, you got into this business.
Yes.
What drew you into real estate?
Gosh, going back to when we purchased our first home, we lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I even remember our realtor's name, Debbie Stone, and she was very dynamic, hard worker, just going through the process of purchasing our first home. I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to help people fulfill their dreams, and purchasing a home is something that everybody aspires to do. And you go from your first to your second, and you grow as you get older. And I spoke with Debbie about it during that time, and I thought, well, I don't know if I can do this. I mean, she had her little real estate calculator. I'm like, I'm not good at math. She goes, you don't need to be good at math. So anyway, at the time I was with Shaw Industries in sales, and I've always had a passion for working with people. And I thought, well, when my husband got transferred here to Greenville, this is the opportunity. Go ahead, and I'm going to go get my license and go for it. And it was nerve-wracking at the beginning, not being in an area that we didn't know anybody,
Sure.
No family, my son Matthew, who's now married to my wonderful daughter-in-law Carly, he was 3 years old, and I got my license, and I thought, well, the good way to start in this business, not really knowing people in the area, on-site sales. People are coming in the door, but I knew I couldn't do on-site sales full-time. I'm not one to sit in an
Sure.
office, and I'm more of a, go. And so I worked as a part-time on-site sales in different communities in Greenville, Willow Creek, Summerwalk, Neely Farm. There's a bunch more, but I did on-site a couple days a week, one weekend a month, and then I had the idea, speaking with my broker, I said, if somebody walks into the sales office and they decide they don't want that community and they are not working with a buyer's agent, would I be able to work with them outside of that community and work with them as their agent for them to purchase a home? Well, initially, that could be a conflict of interest. Seabrook was kind enough to dig a little deeper and spoke with the developer and with the builder and explained my idea, And I just was very, I would never steer somebody away from the community that I'm representing. But
Sure.
if they're not going to buy in that community, you can't make
races there from
you
there.
can't make any buyer purchase a home.
Yeah.
And he thought, well, that's a good idea. And so that's what I did, and it kind of started. That's how I grew my business, through referrals.
Got it. So I'm sure you guys know a lot of these statistics better than I do, but I did a little bit of digging before we started today. 21,376 people who are registered to sell real estate and licensed in South Carolina. What, about 19,000 are in Greenville? But you just mentioned the client base and kind of building that up. The statistic that I came across says that there's 30% of most realtors' business comes from repeat clients. Would you say that's been kind of pretty accurate?
Absolutely.
Based on what you just kind of
Yes.
described?
Mhm.
Okay. And 92% of homes in the U.S. are sold using a realtor. I found that to be really high, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Especially when you see so many people try to do this on their own.
Yes.
That was really surprising to see that. Do you see anything different of those statistics in the upstate right now? Is it pretty similar? Kind of what do you see in the
Carly?
market?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think for the most part, yes. I think things are beginning to change with, just all that's out there online and the resources for real estate. People are thinking that they can take the route themselves and maybe do a for sale by owner, and kind of, people are looking into the option of not using a realtor. So seeing that more so, but I'd say that statistics are pretty accurate.
Sounds pretty good.
Can I chime in on that, Erik?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do so.
I totally agree with Carly. What I'm seeing also is, I don't know what the percentage is, but I think a high percentage of people who try to do the for sale by owner and try to do it on their own, they start into the process and they realize there's more to this. I can't do this. Like, I don't, there's a lot that goes on between contract and closing. They realize they need representation. So then you get the phone call.
Sure.
And so I think that's where things are changing, where people think, well, gosh, I don't want to have to pay that commission. They don't realize the value that comes with having representation. And
Yeah.
then that changes, and then you get the phone call.
Right.
The other thing is, in this seller's market, sellers that are trying to do it on their own really are doing themselves an injustice, because there's multiple offers on almost everything. And so they don't really know, they're looking at comps in social media, or, not social media, like Zillow, Realtor.com, all those things, trying to figure out, okay, what has sold, but they don't know the details of the entire market and how to price their home. And then they're either overpricing it, underpriced, they don't know where to put it. Well, then they also don't realize we could be getting 10 offers.
How do you
So
deal with it?
The only way you're going to get that is if you've got representation and you are in the MLS and out there for buyers.
So the for sale by owner phenomenon, especially in this market, it seems like that's what people have, like you say, kind of lean towards, but then they get themselves into an issue.
Yes.
I guess just current market observations. How long does this seller's market craze continue? And I'm not gonna hold you to this, but what's driving it? What do you see? Kind of, where's the tipping point?
Yeah, I don't know that there is a answer. You would think that it can't continue forever, but in the area like Greenville, where things are growing and people learning more about this area and wanting to come here, it's hard to predict. So I can't predict it.
I agree. I've even had these conversations with our broker, our broker, Seabrook. He started the merchant company in 1993. So I've been in the business 25 years. He's been over 50.
Sure.
And I was in the office a couple weeks ago talking to him, and I'm like, Seabrook, have you ever seen a market like this? Never. So real estate really is very cyclical, as we all know. So, back in 2009 when the downturn happened, and then it took years for that to come back. It came back. The secondary market is now back, meaning second homes. And it's just so hard to predict. But like Carly said, I really feel like with Greenville being such a desirable place to live, that I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, but there's really no way of knowing.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it
So
seems like there's a lot of people moving in from out of state,
yes,
other areas of the country. I
Yes.
guess, especially being able to work remotely now, it kind of took some of the barriers away from that.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So it is interesting to see, even from our business, of the amount of people coming into town that
Yes.
are not from this area. So, so when you guys were starting, this is kind of a question for both of you. So, the hardest part or the hardest obstacle to overcome initially when you first started, what was it, or what is it? Maybe you're still there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just patience, and not wanting that. Okay, you get your license and you've got these ideas, and you're marketing yourself and doing all these things and wanting an immediate client base. And I think real estate is something that is just takes a little bit of time to really build the business and see that come out. So I think patience was the biggest obstacle for me, and
Okay.
I think I've kind of starting to build a little bit more and seeing some people that have, maybe saw marketing or stuff a year ago, but now they're in a position where they're ready to buy or have a house to sell. So,
What about you, Barb?
Same
Same
thing. Maybe in a little bit of a different way, because when we moved here, I was 25 years younger. I had a 3-year-old, didn't know anybody.
Sure.
And the obstacle to overcome was trying to really even figure out not only how to build a client base, but learning the area as well. And it took time, and it took a lot of patience. And
Yeah.
real estate is not what people think it is in regard to, I'm going to get my license. It's so busy in Greenville. Houses are selling. I'm going to get my license and start selling a lot of houses. It doesn't work that way. It takes time.
Yeah, I think people maybe have a false sense of security seeing someone who's really successful at it. Maybe they've been in the business, 25 years,
Yeah.
and thinking you can come in and immediately do the same thing, replicate it,
No.
right? And
Yeah.
like the patience piece,
No, it takes time.
that's hard to,
Yeah.
I want it right now kind of
Yeah.
deal.
definitely a more long-term mindset and vision than expecting something in the short term.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish, Barb, is there anything you wish you would have done differently if you could go back and restart?
That's a tough question.
And if there's not, that's okay.
I would say I think it's
Think
been
it-
pretty good. Now, no, not really. But the one thing that Carly has been amazing, we are really a good team because we, like Carly said earlier, we have different strengths. She's really good at marketing and the technical type things, Excel spreadsheets. I mean, things that I just, I still have my file folders in my office. Everything's digital now. Everything's on the computer. We have a
Right.
dot loop system where all of our files are, and it's great. I still have to have that folder that I pick up.
Mhm. Just how you-
This
how
era
you
does
done
not
it.
need that. I feel like I'm very organized in my own way, but the computer part of things, keeping files of all your clients in the, in that era, that aspect.
Okay.
I could have done better with that, but now I've got help. So
You just find somebody that knows how to do it better and don't worry about it,
we're
right?
a good team.
Okay. So the lifestyle of someone in real estate. We were talking about this before we started. You were out last night at 9 o'clock working on some
Yeah.
to finish out a house closing. How do you balance lifestyle and work and be productive with work, but also be able to turn it off? Which I know that's probably a relative term.
Well, I'll start. It's interesting because I have people that'll say to me, my goodness, you work 7 days a week. Well, yeah, but, I wake up in the morning some days and I don't really know what is going to happen. There's days that, after this interview, I have an 11 o'clock closing. I know that was scheduled. I've known that scheduled. In real estate, you don't have a daily schedule a week ahead of time most of the time, with the exception of closings and appointments that are already scheduled. I could have 5 phone calls today to list houses or, come show me this house, and I love it. I love that
The
about
unknown.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's keeps me on my toes. I think it's important to exercise and do the other things in your life, eat right, and have a good work-life balance. And of course, family comes first, and you just have to kind of go with it each and every day. But I work every night. But it's not like work to me because I love it. I got a phone call last night from the final walkthrough from the buyer's agent at 8:15. The smoke alarm in the bedroom's hanging, and there's a railing outside that's loose. And I said, well, that wasn't really in the home inspection, but I'm going to go check it out because I want to make it right.
Sure.
And I went to the house with a ladder, and my husband came and helped me, and we put the smoke alarm back up to make it right for the seller, or for the buyer. I'm sorry. So you just do what you have to do, and it's rewarding.
So having young kids right now, I've got young kids. Yours are a little bit younger than mine. How do you balance this?
It's the grind. It's just the grind. It's just one day at a time. No, it's great. I think that real estate does give you, some freedom in the aspects that you can set your own schedule. But there's also, like Barb was saying, a lot of unknown that, it's hard to predict the day to day. So we've just been really fortunate to have, of course, family around that can help with kids when needed. Family and business partner that can answer questions or step in and help with that as well. So,
all right. So the flexible schedule is what draws a lot of people into real estate, and it seems like it could be a trap to some degree. So the same statistics that I pulled across earlier, they had an income statistic for people who work in real estate, working 21 hours to 39 hours a week. Their income on average, not for everybody, on average is about $47,000 a year. If you work over 60 hours a week, it's $147,000.
Wow.
That's a huge difference for 20 extra hours.
Yeah.
So do you think that maybe gives credence to some people will get into this and not really treat it like a full-time job, and they use that flexibility and it kind of is their demise?
Yeah.
Whereas if you get in and, like you said, just grind away, you'll see the benefit.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's, people get in and they do think that, yes, you can set your own schedule, but does that mean that you're going to turn clients away when they want to go see something? No. If it's a 7 a.m. appointment and that's the only time that works for them, you make it work. And I think that, seeing Barb, I don't think I know anybody that works as hard as she does. So she has a flexible schedule, but she, hands down hardest worker I've ever met and gets it done. So it's, I had never heard that statistic, but it makes sense when you see it.
It's a big difference.
Okay, so on that note, it's very interesting. What came to mind on that note was I've worked with agents where it's my listing, and the buyer's agent I'm working with, I can tell in a very short period of time that they have another job. So they're working full time, they think they can do real estate on the side, and they're working a 9-to-5 job. I figure it out after like in a week. I'm like, why is this person not getting back to me?
Sure.
Right, and then all of a sudden I'm realizing that every time they text or call me back, because there's a lot that goes on between contract and closing, and you have to work together.
Yeah.
You're not working against each other when you're on the listing side and the agent that's representing the buyer. You're representing your client, they're representing their client, but you have to work together as a team to get to the closing table. And when I get responses after 5 p.m., all for every day, I'm like, oh, okay, well, they have another job.
Yeah.
And this isn't working.
A bit of a pattern.
So, and then going down the road, I see that agent's not in the business anymore. They don't last very long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really. It's not really an industry to be part-time in, is what it sounds like.
Not if you want to be successful, and not only the success part, but I don't feel like you're representing your clients in their best interest if you're not full-time.
Got it.
Because if you're working another job, that's not, you're not giving your client 100%.
Right. Yeah, you got to put in 100%, even if it's 6 months of no income. You just got to do it, and focus on the long term. So.
All right, so that brings me to a question. Y'all are doing a great job because none of this was planned out, but the fluctuations of income with people in real estate, What are some ways that you all have managed to deal with that in terms of, hey, you might get paid this month, but it might be 3 months before you get paid again?
Right.
How do you manage, one, the aspect of being basically an independent contractor, right? So that comes with challenges from a tax perspective and knowing how to manage that effectively, but also the budgeting and just cash flow and saving, and just making life work, right? So what are some tips that you guys have kind of come across that helps for that?
Yeah, I'll be honest. We're in the middle of that and figuring that out, and as things are starting to play out, we're still learning that.
Yeah.
Of course,
it's a big challenge, right?
Yeah, you've been a big help providing some tips for us, and so we're trying to know what our survival number is, and trying to stay as close to that as possible. Which we may know we have some extra income coming in, and hopefully when we get that can be saved.
Sure.
So just trying to live, I guess, a little bit lower than maybe what the income number says, because it's unpredictable.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely. You have to plan ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it probably takes a little while to try and, figure that out over the course of, you've seen a lot of different ups and downs in the market where it's been really good and then really, really dry.
Yeah.
So, from a mentor perspective, you have somebody that's seen all sides of it.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So with the buying agents, selling agents side of things, okay, so which one do you like the most? And you're not going to offend anybody, but and then is it ideal for someone to specialize in one of those, or to be generalist and kind of work across, or does it matter?
I like both for different reasons. I love to work with a first-time home buyer that is super excited, about getting their first home, or and it's exciting. And then you get to the closing table, and I had one last Friday that he just couldn't. He even said at the closing table, he's like, I can't stop smiling. That just warms my heart. That's why I love what I do.
Yeah.
Now, this has been a challenge in this current market with buyers, especially first-time home buyers, because homes are going for over list price. There's multiple offers. There's different things as a buyer's agent that we have to do to be creative in order to get them their first home and in order for them to win out. So that's been very difficult and challenging. From a seller's perspective, being a listing agent, I love doing that as well. I meet with my clients ahead of time, and I call it kind of a pre-appointment. Go through the house. Do they need anything? Is there anything that needs to be fixed? Do they need to update? Do they need to, remove furniture? That type of thing. Get it staged for pictures and for, explain to them that when you're selling your home, you want to make it feel like, they're the buyer, not the seller. So, less is more. So there's so many different aspects to both sides, and I really love both. So that's kind of my,
Yeah, I think, I think it's great to learn both sides of it and know both sides and knows what goes into being on either side of that. Like Barb said, it's tough being a buyer's agent right now, because you hate to see when things don't work out for your client, especially if they're pretty excited about it. So that's certainly tough. But I've enjoyed both sides.
Which one do you think is harder in the long run?
Right now?
Well, right now, but just in general, are there aspects of being a buyer's agent or a listing agent that are more difficult than the other? I'm saying this because there are people who are thinking about getting into real estate.
Right.
Just, what's the dirty 30% that you really just don't like doing?
All right, so
we love it all.
No,
yeah,
you don't. You don't.
So the difficult part on the listing side, okay, you're from contract to closing, you've got your inspections and all that, and you're waiting for the buyer's agent to send the inspection report and the list of requested repairs. Then you have to go through everything with your seller, and contractually they're responsible for the structural items that are in the contract. Well, there's variables there too. Like, if there's some things on there that aren't contractual, but you've got a really strong contract and you're getting over list price for your house, be nice to the buyer. Just do the little things. Like, I try to get them to make it good for them too,
Yep.
and even if they're just little minor things. But in the long run, I mean, contractually they don't have to. So going through the inspection process can be difficult. It can be smooth. It can be a deal where you've got, for an example, you've got a buyer's agent possibly on the other side that maybe is not a seasoned agent, and they send you a 2-page repair request of 30 things that is basically a copy of the inspection report. Well, that's not how it works. So then you have to, in a very professional way, explain, well, these 25 out of 30 items are not contractual.
A little confrontation.
You know what I mean? No, I never really. You just work through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I enjoy I've had younger agents that are in a situation like that have reached out to me for help. Like, wow, thanks, that really helped me. And I'm like, oh, that makes me feel good.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm helping them.
Right. Help them grow.
Which means, I know I'm getting old, but it is what it is.
You're the mentor now.
Yeah, I agree that from the listing perspective, probably going through that inspection process and
I think
doing that is the most challenging on the listing side. And I'd say probably on the buying side is just the timing of everything. Especially right now in the seller's market, things are going quick. So when a listing hits, it's you go now.
Right.
You go.
Yeah. You gotta drop everything and go.
Yes, and and sometimes that can be inconvenient even for your client because they're at work and they've got their life too that they're trying to handle. So it's moving quick.
Okay.
Right now.
So you guys interact with a lot of people in your industry day to day. Are there any qualities about people in general that help them to be successful in your world? That's just kind of an overarching theme where you can see that quality in almost everyone that you work with.
Carly?
I would say I don't know that I've seen it in everyone, but one thing that I think is helpful is kind of points back to the point that Barb was saying is working together as a team.
Okay.
Just be kind and do what's right.
Yeah.
You're representing your client, they're representing theirs, but at the end of the day, we're trying to do what's best for both parties. And so just, doing what's right and going the little extra mile or doing the things that, probably aren't in the job description of what everybody does, but it makes a difference in the end for both sides.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Last couple questions I have. So when you decided to work with your current company, Marchant,
Yes.
I assume you had exposure to other companies, and you've obviously seen other companies throughout the last 2 decades. How would someone best go about identifying a group to partner with in your industry? Like, what are some things that they should be aware of, or maybe some things to look at?
I feel like as individuals, from a business perspective, we're all wired differently. And there's some people that maybe are suited more for a larger company and they want to be in that type of an environment. And maybe they're new to the area and they feel like that's going to be a better fit for them. But really, it's the feel for when you go and you speak with the broker and meet people in the other agents in the company, what works best for that particular new agent. Because over the years, I'll be honest with you, I've had other brokers reach out to me to come to work for them, and I like to meet them, and they're all my friends too. Like agents from other companies I've become really good friends with.
Sure.
And so I'll go and I'll have lunch with them, and I basically have pretty much said every time I'm really happy where I am. The Marchant family is a family, and I've become part of that family, and it's really special. And Seabrook and Ann, they just are amazing people. Seabrook is a wonderful philanthropist who helps so many different Meals on Wheels, and he's very involved in the helping the local police force, and it's called LEAD, that he started that. He's just a really, really good man and very well respected in the community. And I feel like that has helped me in my business. I remember my first closing, he said to me, and don't spend that commission. I'm like, what? I mean, this is 25 years ago. I'll never forget it. And it's all the little things that he has taught me. What he meant was, you've got a contract, but you didn't sell that house yet.
Right.
Anything can happen between
Not
contract and
closed
closing.
yet.
It's all the little things, but getting back to your initial question, I think it's an individual thing. That somebody might want to be with a larger company, but our company does the same thing as those larger companies. We market. We have a great marketing team. When you list and buy a house, you're getting individual attention, and it just really just depends on the individual, I believe.
Cool. So with social media being as big of a issue as it is right now, and I don't mean it's an issue, but we see a lot of people who post from real estate, the real estate market 3, 4, 5 times a day on social media. How necessary is it to have that same presence, or maybe even a greater presence, or is it necessary? Can you build this thing without being a tech genius or a guru on social media?
Yeah, no, I can speak to that a little bit.
That's a good,
I do think it's important. And the reason why I say that, more so for me, is, my friends and my network of people, they're on social media 4 or 5 times a day, hours a day. And so it's a great tool to stay top of mind, for friends that use that. Now, Barb maybe doesn't have to be so involved with that because a lot of her business is referral based now. But I think as a new agent starting, it's a great tool. It's inexpensive marketing, sometimes even free, depending on which route you take. But yeah, each platform probably has its own demographic. So just kind of figuring out what your market is and working that to your advantage. But I do think that it plays a role.
Is there one platform that you found to be more successful than the others?
For me, Instagram.
Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a market demographic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So is there anything that, all right, last question. Is there anything that you would tell someone who's trying to get into this business? What one piece of advice you would give them just to kind of kickstart it?
Set a goal, focus on the goal.
Okay.
Day to day, focus on the goal.
Okay.
Don't get discouraged. If you've got your goal, just keep pushing towards it, and it may take some time. So the patience and set the goal, work towards it.
What should the goal be based around?
It's different for everybody. For me, my goal starting out was to bring in an income for my family and build a career and help people. So for me, it's a long-term goal that took some time to play out, but it's starting to get there.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Barb?
Well, that's the thing. When new agents get in the business, you really do have to be patient. And when Carley's speaking about goals, make it a long-term goal, because in real estate, you're not starting out and right after the day after you get your license, you're not on a payroll. It takes time. And I remember when I started out, I was somewhat discouraged because I was nervous, like, oh, we have all these fees to pay, and I'm putting out all this money, and I've got a 3-year-old, and when am I going to sell my first house? Like, I have no idea. Well, my husband was very, very supportive, and he said, you can do this. Be patient. Just be yourself. That's the main thing. Be yourself. Be honest. Care about people, and it's going to come. It's just, you got to work hard and just always, each and every day, realize that it's not a daily thing or a weekly thing. This is long term. It could take you 6 months to sell your first house. You sell your first house, you pay for your fees, you get referrals, it builds. But it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just rinse and repeat it.
Yes.
I think one other thing, because it's a big thing that I probably take for granted, just because it's family and it's business. But finding a mentor or someone that you can ask questions, that's willing to work with you, willing to help you, because there's a lot. Every deal is different. Everything is different. So just having someone that is experienced, and just being able to have that support.
A sounding board. Yeah.
Yes.
Be able to vent. Yeah, is this normal, or
Yes.
is this, are they picking on me kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are two questions I've asked every person who's sat with me on this podcast
Okay.
since we started. I'm not going to ask you both the questions because there won't be a surprise anymore. I'll ask you individually. So, Barb, if you could buy anything in the world, regardless of how much it costs, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
Yeah, putting you on the spot.
Yeah. What's it gonna be?
Oh my goodness, that's kind of hard because material things aren't that important to me. I just buy something. Wow.
Anything in the world. You think about that for a second. Carla, your question. Last two
That is
things.
hard.
Last two
Yeah.
things you spent money on.
Last two things I spent money on. I think it was Walmart, groceries at Walmart, and daycare.
Okay. I kind of figured there would be more kid-related stuff.
Yeah.
You know, anything in the world. I
She's
mean,
still battling this question.
I really am. So, Carly, you're gonna laugh at this. My boys are hilarious. They've always wanted a lake house.
Okay.
Well,
I may have heard that a few
I'm
times.
like, dude, good luck. Like, go ahead, save your money. You know,
That'd be it?
I guess, but that wouldn't really be. It would be
Buy the
for the
whole
whole.
lake. You might as well buy the whole lake. You
Yeah,
can buy
it'd be
anything.
for the
Regardless
whole
of what it
family.
costs, right?
Yeah, we'll buy the whole lake.
She's thinking big over here. I like it. Okay. All
I
right.
don't know.
Well, guys, tell everybody how they can find you if they want to reach out and ask you questions or connect with you.
Yeah. Instagram, Facebook, Marchant website is marchantco.com. Information's there.
Cell phone.
So yeah,
I've
got
got
our
my-
number. Yeah, the
I got
email
my cell
address, the
phone.
cell phone,
Yeah.
text, call, email.
Yeah.
Hunt us down.
Cell phone and email is the best way to reach me. I always have my cell phone on me. 864-423-2783. Whether it's call, text. If you want to text me, I'll call you back. And Carly and I are always here to help.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for joining us. I really appreciate y'all taking time out of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
us.
guys
It's
for
been fun.
joining us as well. If you have questions or suggestions on topics that you would like for us to cover, you can email us directly at our website. It's fostervictorwa.com, or you can connect with us on Instagram. It's Foster Victor Wealth Advisors. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Information contained in this podcast was intended for general use, not to be used as specific advice. For content tailored to your personal situation, please contact one of our wealth coaches.